Hi guys, in this video I will show you how to use a queue in C++. I will show you how to enqueue an item into the queue, how to dequeue an item from the queue, and how to check if the queue is empty. Now the queue is a FIFO data structure. FIFO stands for first in, first out. That is the first element that we enqueue or push into the queue is the first item that we dequeue or pop out of the queue. Now, in order to use a queue in your program, you have to add an include directive to include the queue. The queue is part of the standard namespace. So when I want to create a new object, I can use std::queue. And then the generic argument that I will be using is just an int. And I give this an identifier of just queue. You can really use any identifier that you like, but for simplicity, I just use queue itself. Now, in order to add an item to the queue, I have to call the push function. This pushes an integer into the queue. So in this case, 5, for example. Note that I didn't specify any size, and the size of a queue dynamically adjusts. So there's no limit to the number of items I can push into the queue. In this case, I'll just push 4 items into the queue. These are 4 integers. So 5, 23, 79, and 41. Now I have 4 integers in the queue. Now I want to show you how I can get the front of the queue, the very first item in the front of the queue. So here I create a new variable named value, and I initialize this to queue.front. To.front returns the very first element in the queue, which is now 5. Next, I output the value to cout, and when I run this, this will output 5. You can see 5 down here. If you want to remove the first value from the queue, you have to call queue.pop. This pops the first item from the queue. So now if I get the first item again, I call queue.front, and then I output it a second time. When I run this, this will now output 23. You can see here. Next, I want to show you how you can check if the queue is empty. I will do this in a while loop. So I want to check while the queue is not empty, and here I simply call the empty function. This returns a boolean of true or false. True if the queue is empty and there are no more integers in the queue, and false if the queue is not empty. So I check here while the queue is not empty. I get the first integer in the queue by calling queue.front again. Then I output that integer, and then I call queue.pop to remove that first element. So what this essentially does is taking out all the remaining integers from the queue. When I run this now removed 23, 79, and 41. Then the queue was empty. And then it terminates the loop because this condition is no longer true. I hope this gives you a good idea of how to use a queue. A queue is really good if you really want to have a first in, first out data structure where you add elements at the end of the queue and you always take them out in the front of the queue. Such as when you want to build an application for customer orders. So orders come in first come, first serve, and this is perfect for a queue. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.